Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is getting squeezed in the short term between the higher-low structure and this major area of resistance, as we're still seeing a lot of liquidity build above the price, trying to pull the price towards that area. And in just 3 days from now, we have the next FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, which could heavily affect the market in the short term, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is now retesting a crucial area on the price chart, alongside Chainlink just having completed a retest of an important level in the price chart. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a quick look at the upcoming FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, which is happening in a little over 3 days from now. And of course, as usual, this could shake up markets in the short term, depending on the outcome of this Fed meeting. And currently, there's approximately an 86% chance of an interest rate cut, so reducing interest rates of 0.25%, and about a 14% chance of no change in interest rates. That's what the market is currently pricing in. And so due to the fact that the 25 basis point rate cut has not fully been priced in yet, it's only been priced in 86% of the way, if we ultimately get the rate cut in about 3 days from now at this Fed meeting, then we'll likely see some more bullish price action either on that date or between now and then, if we ultimately get the 25 basis point rate cut, because there's still some pricing in still to go. And in case you're wondering why a rate cut would be bullish, it's because the cost of capital becomes cheaper, which means it's easier and cheaper to borrow money. And that essentially means more money gets entered into the economy, into markets, because more money can be printed if more money can be borrowed. And so once again, in a few days from now, about 3 days from now, we should be expecting a decent amount of volatility in the short term. But for now, in the immediate short term, for the next 1 day, might not see a lot of volatility, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But first, taking a look at the weekly Bitcoin price chart, the super trend indicator still sitting in the red, indicating a larger bearish trend or a larger bearish correction. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have a massive bearish divergence to watch out for on the much larger time frames, which has been already playing out perfectly here for multiple months, for over a month, almost 2 months now. And so at least for now, on the larger time frames, talking about a period of at least weeks, most likely a period of months, expect a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum. And obviously I've been saying that exact same thing since pretty much all-time highs months ago. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we're still playing out this short to mid-term oversold signal in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI. So this just tells us maybe in the next couple of weeks, not necessarily multiple months, but maybe just in the next couple of weeks, we could see a short-term relief from that larger bearish move. And of course, that's exactly what we've seen just over the last 2 weeks, a short-term bullish relief with a little bit of choppy sideways price action here and there. That's exactly what we saw the last couple of times. We saw an oversold signal in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, either a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief, but not necessarily confirming the end of that much larger bearish trend. And so this is still the case on the 3-day time frame, helping to form this little bullish relief, this break from the bearish trends that we've seen over the last couple of weeks once again, which is still currently active. And in terms of support and resistance, continue to expect a lot of support at give or take $85,000 per Bitcoin, and a lot of resistance in between around 92 to 94,000. And so in the meantime, the price is kind of in a bit of a sideways price range. But if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 6-hour time frame, we can see, at least for now and over the last couple of weeks, we have been forming higher lows, which is a good sign to see. This is obviously a sign of strength in the shorter term, pushing the price a little bit higher. Obviously, thanks to this oversold signal on the 3-day time frame, this is really helping this shorter term bullish relief, as we can see. But like I said in the intro of this video, the price is now starting to get squeezed because we're trying to play out the bullish relief, trying to play out these higher lows, but now we're getting forced into this area of resistance, causing the price to struggle a lot in this area. There's a lot of sell pressure around this area in between roughly 92 to 94,000. But at least so far, once again, we're still forming higher lows, which is a good sign to see, because as I've explained many times in recent videos here on the channel, the more we test this resistance, the weaker that resistance gets. In other words, if we keep testing this resistance, that increases the probability we will eventually break out. As always, no guarantees, but that's simply what this means. And And if we first confirm the breakout, obviously right now we've not yet confirmed any breakout, but if we confirm, let's just say candle closes above 94,000 and actually hold above that area, in that situation, the next target, the next major area of resistance to watch out for is sitting in between around 99 to 100,000. And so as I've also shared over the last few days, that is a potential trading opportunity, a breakout trading opportunity, not financial advice, but obviously even for that to actually start to come into play and to confirm, once again, we need to first confirm the breakout above 94,000. So we're still waiting to see that happen. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we could still see a lot of liquidity building above the price of Bitcoin and not so much building towards the downside anymore. And so obviously we have a small amount building at around 83,500, a small amount at around just under 88,000, but most of the liquidity is actually building at around 94.2k to 94.6k. So just above 94,000, around 94,500, we have a lot of liquidity right there, which is obviously just above this area of resistance. And so it's quite likely that maybe in the new week, we could see another retest of this resistance and soon head up towards that liquidity to take out that liquidity. And if we ultimately do that, of course, we need to see the candle closes confirm above 94,000. Obviously, if we just see a quick candle wick towards the upside to take out the liquidity and then we quickly come back down, then we don't really have a proper breakout. We need to confirm candle closes above that level and actually hold above that level. But just for the remainder of this weekend, for the next one day or so, I do expect very boring price action in the short term, because often on weekends we see lower volume, so less trading activity happening. And of course, if we're looking at over the last one day, we've seen very boring price action. So potentially over the next one day, just for the remainder of the weekend, once again, we'll likely continue a bit boring price action, kind of just ranging somewhat sideways here, seeing very low volume. But then on Monday and Tuesday, especially as the US stock market opens back up again, that could potentially cause a little bit more volatility. And then once again, in just over 3 days from now, we have the potential interest rate decision from the Fed meeting, which can also cause a lot of volatility. So basically, this is the calm before the storm. The next one day, expect very boring price action, but then in a few days from now, we could start picking up more volatility. And so this is definitely the time to get set up, ready to go on a crypto exchange to take advantage of the next trading opportunity as soon as it happens. And if you use the first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link will take you to this page right here over on the Pinex crypto exchange, where you can take advantage of some massive bonuses. For example, if you make an account using that link, complete KYC, you get a 50 USDT bonus on your account. And there's also deposit bonuses. If you deposit as little as $100, you get a $100 deposit bonus on your account. If you deposit 10,000, you get a 1,000 USDT bonus onto your Pinex account. And so this is basically free money from the exchange, which you can then go ahead to actually use to open one of your Bitcoin trades if you want to. As always, not financial advice, but if you want to take advantage of these major bonuses here, check it out. First link below this video. But if you want a no KYC crypto exchange to take advantage of the next trading opportunity, whether it's a long position or short position, an exchange that I also use, then for that, check out the second link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. That second link will take you to this page right here over on the 2bit crypto exchange. And on top of this, which I'll talk about in just a moment, there's also exclusive deposit bonuses that are only available using that link. But on top of that, there's also this event that's running just for the next 3 days, as you can see, where there's basically trade protection and a recovery fund here. And so as you can see, new users making your account for the first time during this event will receive 100% loss protection on your first futures trade up to 200 USDT in trial funds. And on top of that, if you get liquidated during this event that's running for the next 3 days or so, over 50 USDT, you may be eligible for recovery compensation up to 1,000 USDT, depending on your liquidation. And so once again, if you want to take advantage of extra deposit bonuses and also taking advantage of this loss protection right here, check it out, second link below this video. And remember, 2bit is also a no KYC crypto exchange. But all that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and I'll keep this quick because not a lot has changed over the last one day. Right now, the Bitcoin dominance is very neutral. We don't really have a strong trend to either direction. We don't have a lot of momentum to either direction. So overall, I expect relatively neutral price action for the Bitcoin dominance just over the next couple of days or so here in the shorter term, which basically means a lot of the major altcoins on average will likely be performing very similar price action to whatever Bitcoin is doing, not necessarily much better or much worse, just very similar to Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, right now the price of ETH is still retesting a crucial level on the price chart, which is sitting at around 3040, 3040. So really in between 3,000 to 3.1k. 2.6k is the important area that we need to hold. Previously, this was a Fibonacci level of support, and then it was a resistance roughly a week ago, and right now, at least so far, is once again acting as support in between 3,000 to 3.1k. And so obviously, at least so far, it's good to see the price hold this area, but if we actually break back below 3,000 with daily candle closes below that level, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, at least in the short term for the following days, of course, there'll be a bearish signal pointing towards a possible drop back down towards roughly 2.8k as the next potential point of support to watch out for. And then below that, we have a lot of support at just above 2.6k. And as for resistance, if we continue another bounce here, expect a lot of resistance at around 3250 to 3.3k, which we pretty much perfectly rejected from just a few days ago at around 3250. And above that, expect a lot of resistance in between around 3.6k to 3.7k. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 4-hour Ethereum price chart, of course, over the last few days, for the last half a week, we have been playing out an overbought signal here in the 4-hour Ethereum RSI, which basically told us that the price went too far to the upside too quickly. So like I said on the channel right here, we're most likely going to see a bit of a cool off just over the next couple of days, maybe just in the short term here, basically resetting the RSI out of overbought in the form of most likely a slight pullback, maybe a bit of sideways price action here and there. And since I said that right here, that's exactly what has now played out as predicted. And once again, like I said earlier, for Bitcoin, we'll likely continue this relatively boring price action for the remainder of this weekend. But that's talking about the imminent short term. If we're talking about, let's just say, the next 1 week or 1 or 2 weeks, that sort of time frame, overall, we are in a bit of a shorter term bullish relief or short term bullish trend, which is obviously forming higher lows and higher highs, at least so far. So this is a good sign to see, but remember, we can see little setbacks along the way. So right now, we're on one of those short-term setbacks during this slight bullish relief here, which could potentially continue a little longer, but just for the next 1 day, expect relatively boring price action continuing to cool off a little longer just for the next day or so. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, right now Solana is still trading in the same sideways price range in the short term, in between this support and this resistance. First of all, we have a lot of support that we should be paying attention to at around 124 to 128 approximately, where we've seen multiple bounces from, and a lot of resistance in between around 143 to 147 approximately. And that's pretty much exactly where we've seen many perfect rejections from, as expected, from that exact area of resistance. But obviously the much larger trends, the larger price structure has not changed over the last 1 day. We're technically still within a larger bearish trend, but the short-term situation is that we're still just bouncing around sideways between support and resistance in pretty much a shorter-term sideways price range. So honestly, not a lot has changed over the last 1 day for Solana. I continue to expect the price to remain in this sideways price range, at least for the next couple of days, maybe longer, but at least the next day or two, we're likely going to remain between this support and this resistance. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, we still have this massive bearish divergence, technically still active, still influencing the price on the much larger time frames. But remember, this is not a short-term signal. This is not a signal telling us what to expect today or tomorrow, but rather what we should be expecting over potentially multiple months. As I actually warned about many times here on the channel around beginning of August, many months ago, I said, get ready for a multi-month pullback, when pretty much no one else out there was predicting that. But obviously, now that that has played out as predicted, I continue to predict this moving forward because it is still currently active. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, obviously just in the shorter term, we've had a smaller bullish divergence here on the daily time frame, playing out mostly in the form of choppy sideways price action, which is one of the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. We either see a bit of a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief as the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence, especially in the shorter term. And so right now, we're kind of still playing this out. We've not yet fully invalidated this bullish divergence on the daily time frame. And like I explained in my last video, if we actually dip a little bit lower in the price and confirm a daily candle close in the price below roughly $1.94, $1.95, below this previous low just here in the daily candle closes, in that situation, we could possibly form a new bullish divergence, or effectively extend this bullish divergence with a lower low in the price, if of course the higher lows are still forming in the RSI, which so far is the case. And so overall, we're most likely set to see a little bit more of a sideways consolidation in the shorter term, especially for the next day. Expect somewhat neutral price action, relatively boring price action just for the remainder of the weekend following Bitcoin and Ethereum, etc. But then potentially in the new week, especially as we get closer to that Fed meeting, we could start to see a lot more volatility in a few days from from now. And as for support and resistance, we still have a lot of support at roughly around $2 to $2.05, which we're currently testing as of recording this video, very close to $2. And below that, expect more support at around $1.94, $1.95, and a lot of support at around $1.82 approximately. And as for resistance, expect a lot of resistance at around $2.20. And if we're taking a look at the daily Chainlink price chart right now, we technically still have an active bullish divergence, but of course we hit this $15 price target for the W pattern, and it's pretty much perfectly rejected from pretty much exactly $15 within just a couple of cents of $15. And now we've come back down to retest this previous Fibonacci level, which was acting as resistance about a week ago and is now acting as support, and that's sitting at around 1340 to 1350. And so once again, continue to expect a lot of support at around 1340 to 1350, and right now it's possible we could see another slight little retest of that level, especially if, for example, Ethereum continues this retest of this support right here, and especially if Bitcoin struggles a little longer in the short term, we'll most likely see very similar price action in the short term for Chainlink, kind of just looking relatively neutral, very boring price action just for the next day or two. But then in a few days from now, we could start to see a lot more volatility once again as we get closer to that Fed meeting. And for as long as we see the interest rate cut and we don't see anything too crazy, we could likely continue a little bit more of a relief in the short term, considering the fact that we're still, at least for now, holding above this crucial level at 1340 to 1350, and we also still technically have an active bullish divergence, which means we're most likely going to see either a sideways consolidation or just a slight bullish relief as the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence, which is still technically active. And as for resistance, if we make our way back towards the upside, remember, still expect a lot of resistance at close to $15, and especially in between $15.20 to $15.70. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim the massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. Well, anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.